Griz, and welcome to the Orc Fort Podcast. I am your host, Xu'rek, and today I have the very special guest, Mr. Grizlok. Grizlok is an old-time orc whose name probably you've seen across the Discord channel somewhere. He has a lot to say, and we have a lot to talk about. We've discussed the Bloodrock clan, sort of where we've been and where we're going. It's a great episode, so I definitely encourage you to march into the Orc Fort, sharpen that blood axe, and grab a bottle of grog. Have a seat next to the campfire and enjoy today's episode. All right, Grizlok, welcome to the podcast, man. The Orc 4 podcast. How's it going?
Oh shit!
You're here.
The Orc podcast.
The official one too.
Yeah.
The official podcast, bro. How's it going?
Am I the season finale? What's going on?
You're not the season finale, but you're like the teaser. You're the teaser, like where the guy's about to die. You know what I mean? When Game of Thrones does it, like you're that. But which is pretty good. But hey, Griz, I think anyone listening to this probably knows who you are already. But I'm going to give you an opportunity to introduce yourself to the listener. Give us a little bit of background of who you are, man.
All right, let's start with this.
Your ass better call somebody.
Yeah. Yeah.
Only the highest audio technology for the Orc 4 podcast.
A phone. I'm Grizlok. Let's see. Who am I? I'm the engineer orc. I've been an orc for, I don't know, since the dawn of time. Long time. A little bit of here and there. A little bit on Catskills, a little bit on Siege. And then I feel like we've been in Bloodrock now longer than we were like on the early days. Like we've been here what, like 5 years or 6 years on Outlands?
Yeah. When did the server? I wasn't here for the start. Was it 2018 when they launched it? 2019?
Something like that. Yeah.
And then COVID just gave them a boost, I bet, right? That's probably what happened.
I think, well, and the server rules, but yeah, I think that's probably it. There wasn't probably even a lot of options out there like UOF and all that bullshit, but they're here now.
Yeah, it's a great server. But Griz, I ask everyone who comes on, man, everyone's a fan of UO in some capacity or another. I gotta ask you, what's the story? When did you first hear the words Ultima Online? What was it like? Walk us through those old days, man.
Yeah. So I was in high school. Let's see, what was it? Senior year? No. It was before that. Not senior year. It was junior year. It was like 97? Yeah, 97 October. That it was actually like my one of my like computer lab teacher. You know those computer labs back in the day they used to have where you actually didn't do anything but play games?
Yeah.
Like,
didn't learn shit.
Yeah, we didn't do it. We just learned. I mean, we ended up learning how to like get computers working just to play games. It was like the only motivation to do any like tech. And him and one of his nephews he was a senior that year, and they both got it right when it launched, and they just kept talking about it in class. So me and another friend of mine, and let's see, yeah, it was before Christmas. We got it and we started playing like on Pacific, and then just basically a bunch of people in my class got it, and we just all kind of played together for a while. So it was like September,
that's kind of
November, pretty freaking early. Like
yeah,
we started.
And it's rare that you play with people like that you knew in real life. I think I tell people all the time I play with my brothers most of my UO experience was playing with my literal brothers in the same room type shit. So like. But I talked to some people and like, they've never played with people in real life kind of before. So it's a little bit of a different experience, man.
Yeah. Well, we used to like bring our computers together at our friends' houses and play like Counter-Strike, StarCraft, Warcraft 2. And then like for Christmas, all I wanted was like a better computer and a better modem. Because back then all I had, we were using America Online at first. That's when I first started like role playing was on this thing called like the Red Dragon Inn and the Crossroads, and I was just playing a drow like character. It was weird. You were just texting people and just rolling dice in the room.
It was a chat room?
Yeah, that's all it was. That's all AOL was chat rooms. So it was just literally just text, like chat rooms, and you'd walk into the inn and sit in the corner, and like everyone would role play and talk to each other. And if you got into a tussle with somebody, you'd create a room and go to it, and then just roll D20 for battles. And whoever got like an 18 or up, you would just type in whatever your move is, like jumps over the table and cuts
Yeah.
you. And then if you rolled an 18, you scored a hit, and you just did it. It was just like rock paper scissors or some shit like that for I don't know how many points. It was so stupid. But then, we started playing UO, dude. First logging in, my teacher and my his nephew, they were already like, all we did was they're like, hey, you just got to make a thief and you steal from chests like in town. Like I log into Trinsic, go to a tower and just start stealing. Like chainmail would spawn in there, gloves, like all kinds of garbage would just spawn in a chest like constantly. So you just would make new characters, take all their starter items and steal from chests and then sell that stuff to get gold.
Damn, that's
But
like a
like,
scam, dude. Y'all were scamming.
dude, oh, the early days, man, it was crazy. Like there was no all names. There was no, like you didn't know someone was red until you went to war mode, and like sometimes it would say on their paper doll, and you could attack like they would have reds in town, like they could walk into town like they were dastardly or something or dishonorable, so they'd be permanently gray or permanently red, and it was freaking it was a weird ass game back then, and I don't think people could play it now, but they would probably want to try it again how it really started.
Yeah, I think it's one of those things where like people will reflect back to the olden days, and I think some people are like, "Damn, I wish we could go back to those times," or "Wish you could play the vanilla version." But then if you go back into it, man, it's never what you remember, right? The nostalgia effect sort of wears away when you see the ship mechanics. You know what I mean? And you realize, oh, they've done a great job on Outlands.
Oh man, you couldn't even like they didn't even have targeting. Like it was just everything was super weird. You had to click to see what somebody was or what the things were. And but that was the first time like I started on Pacific for some reason. I didn't my brain didn't understand the concept of servers. So I see Pacific and Atlantic. I'm like, okay, what does that mean? Like I didn't know that the name was the location of the
Oh,
damn
I didn't
server.
know either, dude. I played on like Catskills, and I didn't know that was an actual fucking location in America.
Yeah, like when like so I log into Pacific and the like I don't know, I started wandering out in the woods, and me and my friend did. We were just, this is like our first time logging in, and I got PK'd real fast. But that was the first time that I saw a called target. Like this guy, literally with an orc helm. He was with a group of like other people. Like they had mages that would fireball you, and this guy he used dashes and like the end parentheses to make an arrow, and he would run next to me, point the arrow, and then they'd all shoot me. And
Oh,
that
he
was my
was
first
calling
time.
targets before voice, bro. He was doing it manually.
Yeah. Yeah. He would make an arrow and point it at you, and you would be the target, and they'd all shoot you at the same time.
That's fucking
That was
hilarious, dude.
that, that was the first called target. It was so weird looking. It was so funny.
Hey,
But
your mind was
I
blown,
used
yeah?
it.
You're like, holy shit, what the fuck just happened?
Yeah, yeah. Part of my brain wouldn't grasp like how do they survive out there? There's no what are they doing out there? Like where are they getting gold? It's like, oh duh, they killed you. That's how they're
Right,
getting gold.
you're the prey, bro. They're getting it from you.
Yeah, that's when you could have tents. So that like if you go to the honor shrine on Outlands, that tent that's sitting there with a little chest in it,
Yeah.
that's exactly what they all looked like. So you could just plop that down basically anywhere, like anywhere. So there was tents all over the fucking place, and that's where people would just keep a chest with whatever in it, just one chest. And back then, like there wasn't very much limits to what you could put in the chest at all. Like you could fill it to the brim.
So, Grizz, you said the guy was wearing an orc helmet. Does that were
Yeah.
they an orc role
So
player or just wearing the helmet?
I don't think so. No, no, man. I don't think so. I don't think there was too many orc role players back then. There was
Okay,
only
okay.
that time. There was maybe one or two or a few. There wasn't a lot.
So then this is the Orc for a podcast. You are probably the most, dare I say, notorious orc on Outlands. Is that fair? Is
I,
that fair to say?
I'm sure there's worse than me. I just got a
No,
big.
dude, you are like, if you the thing I admire about you, Grizz, is that you orc across the board. So some of us orc in our own little bubble of the RP community. So like I'm always on and I only play orc, but I really only engage other role players for the most part. You know what I mean?
No.
You're over here factioning and shit and doing all this other crazy shit as
IRL
orc.
IRL orc, dude. I got like 9 axes in my house. The rusty machete, like I'm a real orc. I love it. It ruined everything for me. The minute that I started this, like I don't want to play other other games. Like I want to be in work the whole time.
So talk to us. How did you come about? How did you come about? And speak up a little bit if you can. You're a little low on the mic, but
Yeah,
uh,
I'll get clear.
how did you first encounter with Bloodrock, or actually wouldn't have been Bloodrock then, right? But first encounter with an RP or clan. What was it like?
All right, let me see if I can put this up a little bit here. Output volume.
Yeah, just I mean, and you really find it just a little low, and maybe I'm just a little loud, but just
I'll get close to it. So yeah, I started on Pacific, and we all named our characters like Legion because I went to private school. And they're like, oh, Legion's a cool demon name. So back then, like there was no guilds. Everybody had similar, like they would make their names their guild tags.
and when you say there was no guilds, meaning that the in-game
There's
mechanic
no
didn't
guild
exist for a guild.
Correct. Yeah, you had to name your character like Joe of NP, and NP stood for a guild called Needle Pain or some shit like that. And that was like there was a lady named Morgana of NP I always hung out with, and they all had NP in their names. So that's how they made like guilds back then. They didn't have stones or nothing. Um, so yeah, I started on Pacific. Then I think Napa Valley opened up. I don't know when Catskills opened up, but at some point in time, like Shadow Clan was on Great Lakes, which is funny because Luthien was a Shadow Clan orc on Great Lakes. He was like
Oh, I
super
didn't
old
know that.
school. Yeah, that's why I give him anybody who was an orc or former orc. I give a lot of credit to just because that's how I feel. I don't give a shit. Does it mean anything in the real scheme of things? No, but they learned a little something. They got a little bit of that orc blood in them. So he told me about it, and I thought that was interesting. But they started on Great Lakes, and then they all went to Catskills. And when they went to Catskills, they made a post on Stratix, like a advertisement, and I think that's where I first saw it because I was playing a dark elf. I saw it was Shadow Clan orcs, uh, undead, led by Boz, who he just role played like a lich. He just started running in the fort with them, and protecting them. And they were all red. They were all dreadlords. And then Dark Reich and Dark Elves. This lady Kyorlan Orb, and so when I saw the Dark Elves, I was like, oh shit, that's just like AOL. Because that's where I first saw the Drow dictionary, and I was speaking like a Drow, and I knew Drow words. So it was those were the first three like role play guilds,
Okay,
and then
okay.
I just went to the fort area because a lot of them hung out there, and I saw orcs, and I was like, okay, they're orcs, and I dressed like a Drow. That's when you could like buy shadow armor, like the shadow chain. It was like the only other one of the few colors you could buy. And then the Drow hung out by the crypts near you, and so on Catskills, I just played there. And then eventually you log into these old forums called UOTC, the UO Tau Circle, led by this guy named Ken Masters, who was a pretty funny name from Street Fighter. But he made forums for roleplay guilds, and that's where we all communicated.
You know
And
what's funny is when you say that the drow hung out in the fucking graveyard or whatever, but it's really kind of cool because I remember when I first started playing, and I started I think in 2000 in the early 2000s, 01 or something like that. But even by then, even in at that point, there was areas that in the actual I say physical world in the actual world of Ultima that people actually hung out in this specific area, or guilds would hang out around this moon gate. You remember certain guilds would hang out in certain areas,
yeah,
and you can see them around, and you can go visit them. We have that now with like player housing, but and the RP villages, if you will. But it's rare that people hang out in certain areas. Of course, now with guild housing and guild islands, that becomes a thing where you start seeing them more often. But everyone's teleporting everywhere and recalling everywhere anyway, so no one's really physically moving from place to place that much.
yeah, people were looking for fights back then. Like there was no, they had like no stat loss at first, and then they brought stat loss later. But people would go to the crossroads, like near Oasis. Like different shards had their kind of different areas. Like you would hear about them on the Stratix websites and on the forums of the. So you'd kind of like, I'm gonna go create a character on Sonoma just to go check out this area on this shard that doesn't exist on this other shard. So
Mm,
people would, they'd go there, they'd go to the U Moon Gate and would fight there. But so like yeah, I would be at the crypts most of the time, just running around the forest. Like anybody who would, I guess, wander from the Moon Gate over, we would role play with them or attack them, and sometimes we'd get attacked. Like it would be like orc fort defense,
yeah.
and then sometimes the orcs would gate over and would defend us. And eventually, that eventually it got kind of when Siege opened up, that's when it got real quiet. And the Siege orcs would call the Catskills orcs Care Bears because they're wearing the colored boots and stuff.
Oh yeah.
And they had so I think that's where the term. I don't know if that's where I first heard it. What they called the orcs Care Bears because they didn't want to PvP as Reds anymore. They wanted to be. I guess that's when guilds came out and Chaos and Order and all this bullshit, and they started having oranges and only they would war other roleplay guilds to only make like events, which is fun. Don't get me wrong, but like it's different when you can just run out there, find a human, talk to them, and if they don't listen to you, you can kill them, and there's no repercussions for it.
Yeah, yeah.
So that's when eventually I made a siege orc.
It's something that is missing, kind of like it's something that I think, and I've talked to enough people, and anybody listening to this probably is the same, have talked to the same amount of people, or if not more people. And when you talk to someone and you ask them what they loved about the game, it was sort of like this, it's like this sort of debate that's had about the nature of man, right? When you ask like whether someone's has whether they side with Hobbes or Rousseau, the nature of man in our state of wilderness, Griz, are we savages who will slice each other's throat at the moment that we can to overcome one another, or will we work in harmony? And I think UO was a really good kind of pseudo experiment of that, where, dude, the idea of you being able to get attacked anywhere kind of reflected what a real world situation would look like, and if and we're guards. When I started in '01, I think, or whatever, guards were there, but they weren't insta whack. They were like, they chase you down. Was that always the case?
They no, they yeah. At first, they did not insta whack. That you could like kill them, and they would like hit you a few times. It got changed pretty fast, but for like I didn't remember ever that lightning bolt guard show up sound effect and look. I do remember them just running and hitting you, and they almost kill you almost every single time.
Yeah, yeah. I remember it was hard to get away, but the idea of like, that kind of reflects the real world a little bit, and some players don't like it. As orcs, we probably like it because we're probably going to be the aggressors. But I think that's where the really the fundamental sort of argument that was had about, oh, we want to be blues, we only want to fight orange, we don't want to do, and it's the sort of logical progression from there.
It was just a different game, man. It was like biker gangs. Like people would go out in front of the town, like in front of Trensic, and then be there, like just Reds hanging out for anybody that came out. You can either talk with them or fight them. And then people that guard like moon gates used to not be guard zones, so there people guarding moon gates all the time. So they would prevent anybody from traveling anywhere. And dude, it used to be pretty wild, like pretty difficult. I can't imagine how. I guess as us as kids, we really didn't have a lot of much else to do, so we would just sink all the time and just fighting these people and doing anything we could to get resources and get out there and either run past them or try to kill them or sneak around them. And like we put a lot of effort into just staying alive. It was like a super survival game back then.
Yeah. So that's okay. So you come across the orcs. You're a drow at the time. You role played a
Yeah.
drow in AOL chat room fucking days. What's like, okay, fuck it, I'm gonna join these guys. What happened?
Yeah, I had an orc on Catskills. I didn't like fully understand them what the fuck they were saying because I spoke Drow, but I didn't speak Orcish. Like this guy on Catskills when I made the first Griz, he snooped me. He's like, why let I have all this mojo stuff? And I'm like, what the hell does mojo means? What is he talking about? Like I didn't look up the language, and I never actually ever looked it up. It just grew on me from being around them. Like I hung out with this guy named Yubglub from the Srinku tribe a lot. But yeah, I made Griz, and I was like, I'm gonna stick with the Drow for now. But then when everybody switched to Siege, like that's when I decided, okay, I'm gonna go for because it just the Drow had their own problems. They fell apart. There was a lot of like they had weird drama that I was too young to understand. I didn't really give a crap. But so the orcs were so big that there was really little drama. You just had a bunch of people gathering and gathering and gathering together. But yeah, it was really that first advertisement and then showing up and then seeing them like, oh shit, these guys, this is pretty legit looking. But I didn't understand what they were saying. So I tried, and I even tried on Europa. They had a Severed Heads tribe clan that was like a spinoff that Bard came from, and I tried there as well. But I was like, nah, I'll just keep. I kept playing with the Drow to kind of keep them alive, but they slowly dwindled down to me being like one of the few ones left. And then I joined like Crimson Alliance, which is this guild by this guy named Necrosanct, who was a pretty big deal back then. And I was like, you know what? I'm so sick of this Trammel orange bullshit. So that's when I went to Siege like very quickly after it opened up. And those orcs there, the rules were so different. They didn't have any tribes. People were using whatever weapon they wanted. Like the Shadow King orcs weapons were and skills were super restrictive. Like you couldn't only use a certain axe. Kind of like if you were like a snotling, you can only use the hatchet. But they were like you had to rank up, and everything to use whatever. But over on Siege, it was no man's land. They just kind of naturally put it all together. It was fun.
It was a little bit of a free for all, kind of a little bit of a Wild West sort of vibe going
Yeah,
on.
yeah. Siege felt like how it did, those that year before when the game first came out. Because I think Siege came out in like '99. Right at night at either tail end or sometime during '99. Everyone says 2000, 2001, but it was '99.
That's crazy to think about, man. 1999. Holy shit,
Yeah,
dude. That's fucking so long ago.
yeah, yeah, yeah. It was fun, man. And eventually, even those days died down. eh, all the weird expansions. Like some expansions were okay, but then like all these new abilities came out, and you'd be trying to guard the fort, and just two necromancers come in, wither everybody to death. It's like you couldn't even defend anymore. So you're just like, I'm sick of this game. And then I think later on, I think I tried hybrid. I didn't like it. It was just too weird. I ended up Shadowclan moved to World of Warcraft. I played there for a bit. That was fun. It was hard to role play there, but it wasn't because of the game itself that was hard to role play, but everyone was so focused on leveling
Yeah,
and like
yeah. I had the same experience, man. When I role played for a bit in UO, and then obviously I right around 2004 maybe is when I finished playing, and WoW picked up I think 05, 06, something like that when it came out, and I found some orc role players, but they were role play by name. One of those they just looked like they were role playing, but they weren't actually going to role play.
orc.
They were just farming dungeons like anything else. They were speaking in English like everyone else. They just looked like orcs. You know what I mean? Which don't
Yeah.
count for me personally.
Yeah, our ShadowClan got invited to like beta test it, so I got to beta test WoW and run into these unfinished areas and all this dumb crap. But it was pretty weird to role play back then. Now it's way better. They've done a lot of stuff to make it more, but it's too role play. Like there's like no PvP. You can't just kill and loot somebody. Like
Yeah,
you owe my
yeah,
favorite
yeah.
thing is just steal, and you can't steal anything.
That's another thing. Yeah, the role play servers, you can't attack anyone anywhere, right?
No, they have like I don't know what it's called like an app, an add-on, whatever, where you have to ask permission to walk up to role play with somebody. And I'm like, what? What does that mean? Like I am
Yeah,
in character,
yeah. Not
bro.
not our style, man. Not our
In
style.
character at all times. Like basically almost real life. But like yeah, like it's like I'm gonna walk to you and I'm gonna say and like people would tell me, "Hey, don't talk to him. He's not in our group." I'm like, "Okay, no, I'm going to." So I would just start talking to people, and then they get mad at me. I'm like, "This is stupid. I'm not into this."
I've always said too. I think when the game does it for you, Grizz, when the game makes you an orc, when the game makes you speak orcish to humans, when the game gives you a starting village already and like a place that's already orcish, when it does all the work for you, to me that's a hindrance on the RP where you have to design this environment and create this culture from scratch almost. Not from scratch entirely because we build on the shoulders of the older orcs, but you know what we got going on now. Blood Rock is that's all 100%, well 98% player created.
I mean, in my opinion, it's 100% player created. Like it really is. Like yeah,
Well, I
a
mean,
lot of
I say
games
98
are.
because like we
Yeah,
didn't create the mask, for example, but little shit
yeah,
like
no.
that. But
But it was made for us. The mask and bone armor. Richard Garriott himself said that when people started putting on orc helms, he made stuff for role players like us. So that is basically because of us, because of orcs that we got an orc mask, or we got bone armor and stuff like that to actually stay in character.
yeah, because I guess well, that's crazy. Actually, I didn't know that. I didn't know he said that. I'm gonna have to look that. I'm gonna have to see where he said about it. But it makes sense because I imagine, like, if you look at the cover, the whole idea was you're supposed to be some knight or a medieval fighter of some sort. So, like, it's supposed to be armor that like a knight would wear, right? Or like a squire or something like that. And so, bone armor is like that's totally like 100% RP purposes.
Yeah, they didn't want races. They made everyone human. They just didn't. They didn't want any of that other stuff. They wanted you to be you, which that's why he called them avatars. It's supposed to represent you, yourself in that world, like the actual person. That's what he is quoted on saying,
Yeah,
which is
yeah,
weird
and
because
I think didn't
I'm
he
not
come up with
an
the
orc.
term?
Huh?
Didn't he invent the term like in
Yeah.
this
Well, he
usage?
didn't invent it. It's based on like I don't know, some kind of one of those religions. But yeah, one of those concepts of the avatar is supposed to be a representation of you. So
Yeah,
yeah, he
yeah,
used it like he kind of like how he called servers shards. Like that's all. That's all. A lot of crap just comes from UO because they were just the first real ones.
yeah. Well, let me ask you this, and I think one of the things you're known for, and I think a lot of people know this, even I think your Discord icon has it, where is you're like this construction work and engineer orc, right? That's like your vibe.
Yeah, people hate that
Does that
shit. I
stem
don't know
from
why.
your love of orc forts? Is this the origin of it?
It's it's along where it came from. Like when we picked this fort, it wasn't a good fort. It's like Swiss cheese. It has holes all in it. Like you can summon back then you could summon energy vortexes into it. You could send your pets in. You could shoot like spells into it. So it kind of sucked. It wasn't really easy to defend, but we got, once throw 1,000 kicks, you can make that kick really good. We defended it so many times that we come up with strategies and how to fight in it and not to run out and where to hide. And,
And for the listener, this is the U fort you're talking about?
yeah, the U fort by shame.
My shame, yeah, and it
Yeah,
is currently there is a version of it in Outlands, right? You showed me
kind
this
of.
actually. I was unaware of it.
Yeah, so there's the I would call it the Shadow Fort, which is because it's in that weird shadow area in Shadowspire Cathedral where you can go through one of the black gates, and that fort specifically is the Atlantic Storm Reavers orc, because it's got a book in it that talks about the Storm Reavers and references Grishnak, who was the basically the founder of them. It's the same U4. It's missing like doors and stuff, and you can't really play in it because there's mobs everywhere. But
Yeah,
it's a pretty good fort. And then the next best fort would be that small fort that they had, but they turned it into a faction point, ripped all the doors off, and now it's like completely undefendable.
the
But it
one
was pretty
that
cool.
we fought in for a while.
Yeah, we used for a bit, and then yeah, it was fun. I mean, we could still try, but it got kind of ruined. Like, yeah,
Yeah,
but
for the listener,
that's
that U fort, the one that you can visit, or at least a version of it in Shadowspire Cathedral, that to me is quintessential orc roleplay Ultima, bro. That is our home for me personally. Um,
yeah.
and I think when I first started, man, I don't think I left that place for like a month. My character didn't leave that area or the vicinity around it for like a month. And
Yeah.
I remember like we would just get just random shit like ringmail armor and bow. And I mean, I was an archer, so it was like I'd just get arrows, a bow, and like whatever ringmail armor dropped, and that's it, you know. And we fucking practiced at Fort Grizz, and you know this the block the one tile entry, right? Is that's the one that had the one tile entry?
Yeah, that's right in the front door. I
Yeah, and
call
it
it the
had like
murder
a
room.
that area after the first entrance. There's like a little room, and then you go through a second one tile entrance.
No, so that's what got changed by other orcs. I'm not gonna say who, but you know who. But they changed it to two curtains. What it originally is one curtain, one tile entrance, and then the double doors. And then the back of the fort had a one tile, just no door entrance there as well. But the first area, the first fort, was one curtain, single entrance, and then a set of double doors. That's how it was.
That's the OG version.
Yep. And
Okay.
then you'd hide in there and trap humans inside. And then to prevent them from putting EVs everywhere, you would kill a bunch of like llamas and cows and bears and cut all their hides up and just litter the fort with hides so you couldn't target the ground. You'd click on instead on the hides and it wouldn't work.
That's
So we would
fucking
just
hilarious, dude.
cover the fort. So you learned all these tactics and how to use the fort to be mountless and still fight people. And that's where Grizz basically got engineering. Then this guy named Nibgurb, who was in my tribe, the Berserker tribe, on Siege, he would drop boxes all the time to surround people. And my brain just kept putting it together. Like, okay, orcs would go out there and build forts with sticks and campfires and quarter staves and all this crap and boxes, and they would build a fort out in the woods. So I just called it orc engineering. Like the concept of calling it that came from a book called the Doom Brigade, which is a Dragonlance book about these Draconian guys who were an engineering group of Draconians in the evil army,
Mm.
and they would build bridges and whatever like actual military engineers would just build bridges, build forts, build things like that. So it just kind of all came together for me to call it that. And then I would play Team Fortress 2 all the time, and the engineer there would build all these turrets and he had a yellow hard hat and I just thought it was hilarious. So now all my avatars have a yellow hard hat just to call him the engineer. So that's making forts using, because UO has all these little things that a lot of other games do. What other game lets you drop a box in someone's way and block their way?
Yeah,
Not
but I gotta give you credit, man, because you do it in a way that's you sort of created an identity around it. And what I'll do is I'll post-production post up what I'm about to say for the listener or the viewer, I guess, since it's technically YouTube. But we long story short, we have these tournaments called the Tumor where our orcs fight one versus one in our pit, and the winner is the crown champion and is allowed to wear golden plate arms, which is an honor among in our clan. And you entered and you pulled your engineering tricks, bro. And I had never seen them actually. I know you did them. I never saw them, I don't think, like that in person myself. And whenever you popped the first few boxes, I mean, I remember you whipped your bow out. I think you were both swords or macing and archery, and you separated yourself with like impact boxes or crates or locked boxes or some shit, and the melee orc couldn't reach you, and you were like in the corner just shooting them. I was like, dude, this is fucking awesome, dude. This is genius, dude.
To me, it's not even about winning the tumor. It's like pro wrestling. It's just putting up a good fight and making it entertaining. I'm dropping boxes. I'm jumping behind them. I'm teleporting to the other side with a rope while when they finally get to me. I'm calling in pets that were arranged at the time to shoot from the rafters. Like I'm doing anything, because like my character was like he's not made for fighting other orcs. He's not really, at the time he wasn't really built for that. So I was like, I don't care. I just gotta last a long time and make it funny. That's all that matters. And like talk shit.
Did you
So
ever did you ever see Pride Fighting, by the way? The
oh
MMA?
yeah,
Okay.
oh yeah.
The reason why
I never,
the reason why Pride Fighting to me is better than UFC is because you didn't have this hodgepodge. To me, UFC is like the min-max builds, the Hallie, the Roach Mages builds, the everyone has the same build now. Everyone's doing the same shit. Someone just happens to be able to do it a little bit better, but there's no uniqueness in it when it comes to the way that people fight or engage in game. So when you do something like what you do, where you're relying on fucking boxes as your as your mechanism to fight, it's something unique. Now, is it optimal? Will you get the most kills that way, or will you? Obviously not. Oh, at least I don't think so. But it is awesome to see. Just like in Pride Fighting, when you get some kung fu fighter versus a fucking Russian judo fighter, it was awesome to see those two distinct play styles clash, and that's entertainment as a viewer. I get
Yeah.
as a if you're a professional MMA fighter, you might have a different take, but as a general viewer, bruh, it's much more entertaining to see kung fu versus karate. You know what I mean?
Yeah, well, Pride was made by Antonio Inoki, who was a pro wrestler guy who wanted to include martial arts into pro wrestling. And then when he did Pride, he would have his wrestlers actually fight. And sometimes, there was fixing fights. It was, they were using steroids, they were fixing fights.
Sure, yeah, they were definitely roided
But
out.
they understood the concept of the show, and they would have drums and all this wild shit, and that's what made Pride so attractive to watch. Is just because they knew how to structure the rounds better and just make it more of a spectacle out of it. UFC was very like at first they tried to make it very tournament style, but it just kind of turned into sport, which is fine. But back in the day, man, it was all about entertainment and flash and flare and stuff like that. And that's to me what being an orc is. It's pro wrestling. It's about putting on a show,
Yeah.
about just keeping the story going any way you can. Rivalries, just any kind of thing that you think about for your orc. I don't say it for everybody, but for my orc, I like to think of what's his next mission. Like, okay, when I read a story about Bloodrock, I was like, let me read the history, and then boom, I started becoming like deep into the history and finding all these people and recruiting orcs and finding old orcs, and then I realized oh shit, there's like when I first saw Bloodrock, I didn't even know they existed. Shadow Clan was very anti other orc clans, like they were very xenophobic, even against any other orc clan, and you would see them as forks or traitors. That's what they would call them,
Yeah.
and I didn't see Bloodrock till I logged into UO Legacy and saw Nerul, and I'm like, what the hell is this guy? And he's talking all this other shit. He's talking different. So I was like so thrilled. I'm like, holy shit, there's still orcs out here. Because, we went to Angel Island for a while and I played there and eventually it just died and I missed it. I was like, man, why doesn't this still exist anymore? How come these people they're so fucking sick of UO, they don't want to play. All of Shadow Clan is basically a bunch of old dudes who they're just they're in the retirement home now. So when I saw this psycho, I was like, oh shit, here we go. What's this? Yo Legacy. It's kind of like Angel Island. And boom, I ended up back in another orc clan. And I'm learning a whole ass different dialect. And that just got me back into like, okay, well, let's other orcs. I started looking up them and trying to unite us all in my own kind of ways. Yeah, it was, I was like, okay, I'll be Thrall here. I'll unite all clans. And, relatively, in the grand scheme of things, I kind of got that done. I was like, with this group, we are neutral. With this group, we are allies. And then eventually I was like, fuck it. Fuck this other clan. Fuck these guys. And, if you didn't play ball in some kind of way, like you want to be a rival, fine. Boom. Then next thing you know, I'm Marauder Griz. Now I'm factioning. I'm going across the lands. I'm turned into this crazy warrior. And, Grizz always kind of evolves. Like my first real tribe that I joined was the Berserkers, so that's all I did was go crazy, kind of like how Grak always acts like a berserker. And you always evolve and change, and I try to come up with new stuff. And engineering was always there, but I didn't make it a big deal till eventually I'm like, you know what, I like this. I think Yogg was the first one to spell it all silly, like to call it engineer.
Yeah,
And I was like,
engineer. That's
that's
what we
perfect.
call it. Yeah, engineer.
I was like, you fucking nailed it. That's what I want. And I want the engineer title, but you have to get like, 100 mastercraft diagrams and craft stuff. I'm like, dude, I'm not a crafter. Like they're like, oh, you should be a Gukka. You should use tinkering. I'm like, tinkering has nothing to do with engineering. Gucking, creating, crafting has nothing to do with engineering. It's about building a fort, talking shit about bridges, just using buildings. Like I'll make anything a fort. If I'm
Or
in playing town struggles, I'll run into an inn and bar the door, and like they're like, "What the hell is this guy doing?" And you hear them in voice like, "Griz, get out of there! Why are you in there?" I'll take half the team. They'll chase me, and I'll lead them through a building, and then everyone else gets murdered. It's got its moments, man, where you got to be tactical.
Yeah, but see, the thing is, that's what I love about you, man, and is that you're always on. And so, like, whether you're factioning, whether you're doing whatever, you play it in a way that's like, shit, man, that's super worky. Hell, even when you're not even playing, like, yeah, I think your name is probably the most known in Gen chat. You and Nero are the two. But I think in general chat, Discord, Outlands, you and Nero are sort of our representatives there. I mean, that's fair to say.
I got to keep us in the zeitgeist. Like when I see a person, a human, or they're like, "Man, fuck this orc, this fucking guy, he's a stupid ass orc." I'm like, "Oh, so you're still calling me an orc?" Exactly. I'm in your brain, bro. Like that's what I am. I'm not a dude to you. I'm an orc. You know it. You're never gonna forget it now.
Yeah, I think you're up there. You and Nee are up there with it in terms of really orcs that extend beyond our own space. So I do admire that, and I do think that's something that's important because even when you PVM, bro, I seen the way you PVM. That we could be, most people would bitch about they have two cores on them, couple distills, a master crafting diagram, 20K worth of gold, and if they die, oh my god, they lose their absolute fucking mind over those pixels. You know what I mean? They just
Yeah.
even though they got even though they got 68 of those cores and 178 master crafting diagrams in their house, losing this one just takes over them. But if we're out PVMing and you see an opportunity to orc, you're gonna fucking orc, bro. Like it's gonna happen, and I know it.
You got to, man. You got to ask for that tribute. You got to you got to
Well,
keep them on their toes. Like you can't worry about stuff. Really, that's one of the most important things is that our stuff means nothing. Like when I first started boating, I go into town with Griz as red like an idiot. I lost like some crazy $1 million, whatever, million gold, couple items. I was like, oh well, fuck it. Like it doesn't matter. Like
yeah,
okay, that Grack just lost her one of her houses, right?
right. Yeah,
Uh,
that sucks. That's unfortunate.
Guarantee you, she's not gonna say shit about it. She's gonna be like, oh well, because she's old school. Like that's what you should never care about stuff. Rule number one, no whining. Rule number two, stay in character at all times. Rule number three, don't worry about dying. Never, ever, ever worry about dying and losing your stuff. Everything's replaceable. We play with garbage. You don't need anything. You don't have to worry about amassing gold, amassing loot. Like it's fun. This server has a lot of incentive for that. But really, our playstyle, you don't need any of that shit. Like I always say the most intimidating in the whole clan is Turpot. He wears ring pants, a club, boots, a helmet. That's it. He doesn't use potions. He doesn't even use alchemy potions at all. No heal pots. He just uses bandages.
For
he
for
just
for the listener, Turpot is, I call him a legendary orc. He's up there for sure. He doesn't really he's never in character. He never wears a shirt or never wears a chest armor piece. He's just bare chested. He only hangs around the fort. He hangs out on he just he's the watchman on above the gate, right? He has a spot above our little our entrance to the fort area, and he sits there and just waits for humans. That's UO for him. That's
he
it.
just got tracking on. He's just sniffing them out.
He's just tracking. He's got his
Yeah.
tracking at 120 or whatever, and he's just sniffing for humans. And if he sees one, he'll go and demand tribute. If they don't give it, he'll whack them until they die with his club. That's the game for him. It's that simple.
Yeah. I I can be a little mouthy, a little
A
talkative.
little,
So
a little. Come
I
on,
get
Griff.
I can sometimes get my name in trouble, but like I always try to advocate for orcs, like at all times.
That you do. That you
Like
do. Yeah.
basically
No one can say you don't do
respectfully.
that.
Yeah. I'm always trying to advocate, like even though something might seem better. If it buffs a mage, I'm like, no, trust me, you don't want this. It's just gonna make mages worse. Like they're just gonna kill us even more now. At one point in time, I mean, I would say except for this new patch, before this patch, latest one, Outlands was the most like 1v1 Dexter versus Mage, pretty even fight, which is so weird for Ultima to be able to do that. Yeah, you have to run a lot and off screen and time things, but you could still, out a mage, get him out of mana,
Yeah.
and if you survive the dump, you can chase them. Like, it's, yeah, people run, yeah, they're hard to kill. So what? It's about having a fight that you can, having a long battle. I thought that's the best way of doing it. And yeah, like I said, I'll talk a little shit in Gen chat and PvP chat. I think that came from when we went to the new siege where these people were talking massive shit in their Discord, and I asked Adam Ant, I'm like, hey, do you have like a moderator? Like, no one's moderating this. These people are just shitting all over the shard. And eventually he's like, you want to do it? I'm like, yeah, sure, fine. I'm like, what are these rooms for? He's like, PvP is like that room you can say whatever. I'm like, okay, cool. So I would just tell people like, hey man, you want to talk shit? Let's go to the PvP channel. I would just I would just say the wildest shit and they and call them fucking assholes and shit like that. And eventually it's like having like going around to the back, putting on some boxing gloves and just fighting it out. And
Yeah.
eventually everybody calms down, shakes hands, and it would actually calm down a lot of people, but I got too used to that shit, man. I kind of
So now you're in Outlands and Owen's like, Griz,
I've
what the
always
fuck?
had a temper. Yeah, I've always had a bit of a temper. So like I pop off. I try not to. Like certain people have taught me some things, and but fuck it, man. You gotta be you, dude.
Well,
Always.
let's advocate a little bit for orcs here, but also, I mean, this is the Blood Rock podcast, but also let's advocate for the game here. Just I want to pick your brain. You've been around since the start, and you are an orc historian, if you will, and a historian of this game. Like many people, it's a game you love, and you know a lot about.
Yep.
You owe Outlands today, bro. Where we're at, we heading in the right direction? Yay, nay?
I don't know. Actually, this is I like that. Okay, everyone's like, oh my god, they made all the characters tougher, dude. I love human tears, man. Give me more. Give me the
So you want to
one.
make them tougher?
Why?
You want the mobs to be even tougher than this?
Sure, fuck it. Like, if you want, everyone wants to get their gold per hour. Like, screw that, dude. What are you talking about? Like, if you're new, start in the new areas. None of these. It's weird though, because a lot of these people are new to UO. Some of them haven't played this before, so that is hard to imagine. Like, this game has a learning curve. But a lot of people they've been playing for years. You know the deal. You go to town, you go wherever, you mine, you craft, you kill shit, save up, and eventually talk to the community, find a guild. You'll be all right.
Yeah,
So
yeah. You'll make it no matter what. That's the thing is, but everyone went like I heard a rumor. I don't know if this is true. Someone said it about someone else, so it's probably not true. But they were saying that this is pre-patch, but they got 30 links. They hit 30 chain links in like 4 months or 3 months or some shit.
yeah, whatever, dude.
I think that's cap, but let's call it a year, right? Let's say he
Okay,
did it in a year. That's
sure.
still to me because that's pretty much the end of the game, bro. You're pretty much the top 0.1% of
It is.
people at that point. It's like
It is for them. If they want to speed run the game and play that way, sure. The game for us never ends, man. We never end. You yourself took that ball and ran with it. You were the guy. You were making the. That's to me. That's the game. Like getting
yeah.
these links. Give a fuck about links. I don't care about. I mean, yeah, I want to go to Time Dungeon just to see it for with orcs together. Like I don't care about getting the same old. Oh, I got another water core. Like who gives a shit? What do I need that for? So
Yeah,
I'll
and
log in.
I'm with you. I actually like the buffs because I remember pre-buff because I for PVM when I do run any sort of dungeon runs, I'm an archer tamer, right? That's like my go-to. But dude, I was in Aegis 3 and I was just nuking mobs, never getting hit once. And I'm like, and I felt it was way too easy. And that's with like 15 links, right? Which is where I'm at. But it's like, and that's not the end either. So I'm like, I could only I'm gonna be even stronger than this, dude. This is crazy. They were way too easy before the patch, bro. You'd have people with like 4-day-old characters in level 2 dungeons already. And it's like you shouldn't be already at damn near the end of the PVM spectrum fucking first a week, you know what I mean? Because you're leveling so fast. It's crazy fast.
They just want to see who can shovel the gold into their bank the fastest. They want it. They love these leaderboards. There's like a leather gathering leader. Like who gives a shit? But like, hey, whatever, man.
I don't
Whatever.
even know how to check those. I need to
I don't
learn.
either. Whatever they want to the fun to be. Now, when I hear some guy say, "Hey, should I play this shard or is it too late?" Well, I won't be able to catch up. Like, catch up to what? Catch
Right,
up to who?
right,
What the fuck are
right.
you talking about? That's why I like that PvP is still kind of old school in the sense that you can just make a new character, brand new, and in a day, and you're ready to fight people. Like it's not hard. When we get a brand new snotling and they're like, "Oh, I'm not done macroing yet," I'm like, "Dude, I don't care if you just type at somebody. If you're just yelling, talking shit, and body blocking, you don't even have to throw a single punch. I don't care if you're using your dagger. You don't have to do anything. If you're a snotling, get in there and just run into their face and yell no gra. I don't care. Like it's
Yeah.
pretty easy. We got enough people. They'll back you up. Like PvP, you don't have to win. You don't have to always be victorious. We are the NPCs. We are the monsters. We're there to elicit a response out of these humans of something they're not used to. But now we've been around so long, they're probably used to it.
Yeah. And we're kind of like to keep the wrestling terms alive, we're definitely the heels of the server, right? Definitely the heels of our RP community.
You would think so.
Probably a little friendlier now than we were then, right? Probably a little
Yeah.
friendlier now, but um I think we've a lot of people have grown to sort of appreciate what we do a little bit, and so they give us, they'll come up to a dungeon if you're just farming, and they'll drop gold as tribute, just a little bit, kind of a nod, a tip of the hat, if you will.
Yeah. It's staying in their brain. Is it a tip of the hat, or are they just like, fuck, this guy's gonna fucking steal from me. This guy's
Yeah,
gonna kill me.
yeah,
What
it's true.
whatever it is, I don't care. Drop me gold, give tribute, I'll leave you alone.
Yeah.
That's it.
But I think it's true, man. I've heard, I hear people like in the PvP channels and stuff, and I've done some stuff with non-RP guilds, most recently with GG, and like just hearing the communications they have and the concern for not winning. So the concern for not being prepared to win, or the fear of losing. I don't know which one it is. Those are two distinct kind of identities, but yeah, there's something there with these UO players where dying just, I'm like, you're gonna, dude, rezzing and gearing up costs like nothing. You know what I mean? Like this shit
Yeah.
is like, it
It's a
doesn't
loadout.
cost anything,
Yeah.
bro.
Yeah. They all they are playing for, it seems like, is to talk shit to each other, which if that's what they like, fine. That's fine. Do it. That's awesome. I have no problem with that. I love when they're like, "Oh, this guild sucks." Yeah, fuck that guild or whatever. It's hilarious. And they're like, "God, we should." Sometimes they're even like, "What about the Urks? Are they going to come help?" And that's why factioning still kind of I enjoy it when these guys get together and they get mad because another guild has more people. It's like, well, hey man, get more popular then. Recruit, like whatever.
Yeah.
All's fair in war, dude. I don't care.
And that's another thing, right? Is that they again, bro, it's this losing. But what I think is ridiculous, Thugger, is that if you win all the time, how the fuck is that fun, bro? If you
Yeah,
Could you imagine, like, it's like playing Mario Kart or something, and no one can ever pass you up. Imagine a game like that's the dumbest game ever. Like the law, maybe there, it's like psychologists say that gamblers aren't actually addicted to winning, they're addicted to losing. So, and it was a little deep dive for me, but basically, I mean, maybe there's something to that there. People just love getting fucking killed in UO. I don't know.
I don't man. Your favorite person, he never wants to lose, so it's in there. They love every single chance they get. I always tell people, man, like I know we'll lose RP fights, like GG whipped our ass last time,
Yeah,
but I was kind of okay with it. I was like, yeah, man, I want them to whip our ass. That way they can see that spider, they can summon that spider, and they can fight it to kind of like show them, hey, man, there's like a victory condition. Like this is fun. We get to see something
yeah,
that no one else has,
yeah.
and
Something unique. Something
it's
unique.
like I like bestowing that on someone else, like another group of people who've never didn't realize that you pull the wool off their eyes, and they can see. I don't know if I'm using that term, but they open their eyes and see their play this game. Like there used to be people that say, "Oh, the only end game. This game has an end game, and the end 30 links and going to this dungeon and maxing out all your aspect." I'm like, this has no end game. This is why it's called a. You gotta if you dig to the bottom, you're just gonna find more sand. You gotta keep going. There's nothing to end it. Your imagination is your end.
Right, right. And that's kind of the key there too. And I never, when and there's nothing wrong with playing the game however you want. I say it every episode and every time I have a conversation. Our way isn't the right way. It's the right way for us, right? It's what
Yeah,
makes sense for us. And I think as more people get exposed to it, they sort of start to realize it. Like even some of the GG guys, and shout out to GG, they've been pretty good for the last few fights we've had, and we've had. Hopefully, we can do more RP heavy stuff in the future. But even those guys, some of them, and I see and get some communications back from them, and they're just like, man, that shit was kind of fun. There was kind of like, I think there's something about that digs at the very reason why folks are interested in this game to begin with, right? The like you said, the sandbox feel. We're exploring the sandbox, man, and it's at the end of the day, that's all we're gonna have, bro. All these links are gonna disappear, all the gold, all the housing, just like every server that ever has been before, be gone,
that
brother. The shit's gonna
that's
be
why
gone.
I dug into the history and I dug into and I tried to bring orcs together as much as I could. And I respect anybody who came before us. I respect the elders of Shadow Clan, the elders of Storm Reavers, the orcs of Core, and some of them other clans maybe a little bit too, because there was a point when there was no orcs. We weren't playing on any server, so I was like, damn man, I missed those days, and now this was the closest I felt to that old nostalgia. Just playing these like last 5 years has been awesome. Like it feels like it did back then, and this is a rare thing that we have for ourselves, and it's hard to keep that culture. It's kind of weird to call it that, but it's not like it's a biker gang or something. But it's like
No, it's
to
a
keep it,
culture, man. I
yeah,
think
to
that's a
keep it
fair word.
culture alive. That's why I sound like a grumpy motherfucker, but I'm always like shitting on certain ideas because I'm like, no, man, you got to keep it like this. We can't be worrying about certain things. We got to stay who we are. And it. I think Ludcrud was the last one who was really like that. And I get it; it can be tiresome and annoying, and I can be a pest. But I like to keep people. I keep them all on their toes. I like screwing around and
No, but
having fun. And
but
the thing is,
you
the
speak the
most is that
truth,
I
man.
care.
You speak the
What's that?
truth, man. You speak the truth, and when
Yeah.
what you just said is true. Like, and I catch myself sometimes like I just got into boating, right? So like I started boating and shit, and I'm like, fuck, I have one more run, one more run, and then I log in, and it's like, do I want to go try to RP some or do some shit, or oh, I got a boat because I need this much EXP for the next link, and I need this upgrade, and I'm about to do this mini, and it's just like, okay, I gotta catch myself sometimes and be like, yo, this PVM shit is like a drug, man. And if you're not careful with this shit, it'll just consume you, man. It'll
Yeah,
take over
but
it. And then before
the
you
people
know it,
I
all
play
you're
with,
doing is grinding and you do 10% RP, 90% fucking PVM. And that's where I think a lot of people end up.
yeah, I mean, as long as you're having fun, this shit's never. I always say it's not going anywhere. You got to be careful because sometimes it is. Outlands one day will be gone, but I I like that the fact that Bloodrock, this clan, really is one of the last to survive and keep the same mentality and kind of really keep that culture and that brotherhood and that friendliness. I we get rivalries and stuff like that, but in the end, man, like I care. Like I really
Yeah.
care. Like this is a big deal to me. It's important to me. Does it have to be? No, it probably doesn't have to be. It sounds silly when you try to explain it to somebody. Like at work, I'm like, they're like, "Oh, you're a fucking nerd." I'm like, "You don't even know half of it, man. I speak like 4 RP languages." They're like, "What's that?" I'm like, "Don't even worry about it. Like,
Yeah.
I'm not gonna
Yeah.
tell
My,
you."
my wife is like, you're a nerd, bro. And I'm like, maybe,
Yep,
whatever.
proud of it. I don't give a shit.
Yeah.
I don't give a
And
fuck.
we're also lucky. I think that we also lucky that we got a handful of seers and GMs at Outlands that kind of like you said, Luthien. I didn't know he was an orc. So shout out to Luthien for your orc history. Thank you for your service in the Shadow Clan.
Yeah, thank you for your service.
but
It's
but
you know
but they
we're
do
pretty lucky.
support us a lot, man. They do support us,
Yeah,
and I'm appreciative of it.
we're pretty lucky. Like Varg took that shit to the next level. He
For
made
sure.
with a lot of help these wild events and like Eric is so big on UO history and it's pretty badass. It's fun. And Atropa will put together stuff for us. Just these guys, like giving us some of their time to like what other game really lets you work with someone? I mean, I'm sure they're out there, but I don't know, man. I feel like this is a different level. Like it's part of UO. Seers have always been around. Counselors have almost always been around, and it's ingrained into this game for them to work together to create events, and you can pretty much make anything and make it fun. They'll love it.
Yeah, yeah. Well, let me ask you something, Grizz, and this is something I guess I'm curious about. I'm curious to see what you say. Blood Rock right now, we're at a pretty good state. I think we're doing pretty good. We got numbers, we got members, but more important than the number of members we have members that really care about orc roleplay and roleplay in general, which to me matters more than the numbers. Um, what's the future like, man? What are we doing on this? What's the goal for Grizz moving forward? What are you thinking for 2025 and 2026?
Well, so I feel like guilds themselves always go through a kind of evolution and they kind of grow similar and fall apart similarly. Orc clans naturally grow large, break apart, and make offshoots, and that we're no different. Like that's always happened. And the health of the clan always relies on the health of the server. And as long as the server is strong, the Orc clan will be strong. We'll always get new members, new players, old returners coming in. It just we're in a like not like like a mouse wheel, but it's going right now. It's just going, and it's gonna ebb and flow, go up and go down. And as long as we have this place, this schoolyard, this sandbox to play in, we're gonna still be going here until something else comes along. Like back in the day, it was WoW, then EverQuest, and then it was WoW, and then all these other things that detract from it. As long as we stick together, stick to one game, I think this clan is pretty brotherhoodly like type of thing where we know each other pretty well, and there's a lot of core members that have always kind of stayed together, or come back. And as long as we keep communicating, keep talking, hanging out, you know, being with each other, we'll always land on one thing together. And it is really the best part of playing isn't playing Outlands. The best part of playing isn't playing an orc. It's playing with these people that I enjoy being around.
Yeah. You know what just hit me? I just realized, dude.
Hmm.
In like 30 years from now, we're all going to be like old and retirees. You think we'll be hopping back on? We'll have all the fucking time in the world then.
Dude, we're gonna be playing 3D Orc World,
No, dude, I'm
virtual.
still sticking 2D, bro. I'm gonna still hang out at Prev Bank, bro.
It can't last. Eventually, something is gonna come around. It's gonna be
Dude, it's been a
so
quarter of
hard.
a century, bro. It's been a quarter. Things have come already, and I mean, there's already 3D games out there. Like I have a MetaQuest headset where I slay orcs with in the metaverse, and I still come back to this shit.
How dare you?
Yeah, I know, right? Yeah, I feel like a piece of shit saying that out loud, actually, but
How fucking dare you join the path, you bastard? Oh wait, that's right. You already did. Oh no, you're in Sir. That's right. Yep.
I am in Sir, but only in a roleplay capacity for a character designed to study orcs. So but
Yeah.
I'm other than that, I'm all Blood Rock. But
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Grizz, I got one final question for you.
I
And I'm actually really curious to see what you're gonna say. If Owen and Luthien gave you the capacity to make any changes to the game today, top, let's say 3 changes, 2 changes, whatever, the big ones, what are you changing and why? To Outlands.
I'm not the guy for that kind of stuff.
You're not gonna change anything, even in the immediate, like you're not gonna fucking like
Being an orc is about adapting, dude. It's 100%. You adapt to what you got in front of you. Doesn't matter what it is. Yeah, okay. So you have a not even GM hatchet. Cool. Figure it out. That's it.
Yeah.
Period. Figure it out. That's why there's, back in the day, when you wanted to become front, there's a quest you went on. We called it Shadow Quest. Everyone's got a different name for it. You leave the fort with a pair of scissors, a dagger. Figure it out. Go, come back. Don't come back to this fort until you're loaded to the to the brim, armed to the teeth, and blood on your axe. Period. So I wouldn't change myself a whole lot because I don't have that genius that I think Luthien has to come up with mechanics. Yeah, they're not always perfect. Like right now, we're getting killed by mages, but to me, man, hey, it's old school. I remember those days. They're
Yeah.
back.
Yeah. I used to get dumped on.
Cool. Yeah, three spells. All we got to do is adapt. You come up with other ideas. I always say, like, Ermgrol is one of the best at coming up with a way to overcome whatever the latest thing that usually he broke. So it's fine. Like, I wouldn't change a damn thing.
Yeah.
They keep doing it, and we'll keep showing up, fighting our own way, and kicking ass. Period.
That's a good outlook, man. That's a good outlook. And I think that really puts the frame. It really frames our mindset too, because you, even with new PVM expansions where we say, well, we're competing as leadership in Bloodrock, we're competing with our guys engaging in RP stuff, and our biggest competitor is like the PVM desire to either level up, get more shiny items or whatever. And then the second competitor is like the handicap, the PvP handicaps. But I think the answer to that is something like what you're saying, where we say, well, at the end of the day, fuck it, we're gonna be who we're gonna be, and that's just what it is. Like I take that approach to some stuff, maybe not to the level that you do, but I like, even when it comes to my pet selection as a tamer, I only use pets that I think are like orky, So I don't give a shit about stats really. So I kind of take that approach too. So I think that kind of is the answer, man.
I'll give one request. Can I take faction point 13, the small orc fort, and remove the faction point from it and put it back how it was, and then just move the faction point south somewhere or somewhere else? Give me my fort.
Isn't there some water temple shit just south of there?
Yeah, there's something close by. Maybe that little goblin fort that I sent you to on one of your first quests.
I remember that. Yeah. I remember that. Yeah, that's northeast of there, right?
Yeah, there's anything they can do. Why did they change that fort? I get it. It was a nice POI, but give me that faction point back and make it a fort again. That's all I ask.
All right. Well, that's a fair ask.
Adapt and overcome.
I like that fort because it was small enough for us to really, really defend and really, really hold our ground there. And it had a little house that you went up to on the stairs, in the back.
Yeah. Yeah, this is badass.
Yeah, it was fucking perfect.
Got shredded. It got a shotgun blast to it, and the doors removed, and no way to defend it. But
it's really not a fort anymore, I guess. It kind of is, but it really isn't.
Faction points are just 4 posts and multiple entrances, but it's all good. We'll figure it out. We'll find something one day.
Yeah, man. Well, hey, Griz, I appreciate you coming on, dude. It's been a pleasure. Any last words you want to say to the peeps?
Humans, quit your crying. Orcs, I don't want to see another tear. That's the bottom line, because Grizlok says so.
There it is, man. Griz, thanks for coming, man. Appreciate it.
Yeah, give tribute. Later.
Later.